everybody, it's Cole, and we're here with another Wings of Glory Wednesdays episode. Today's episode is overdue almost to the point of being silly. I mean, I don't know why I didn't start the channel off within the first couple of videos with featuring the SPAD 13, because it is pretty much one of the basic building block airplanes of Wings of Glory. It came out when Wings of War was the thing. It came out as part of the 4 original planes, and off the top of my head, I think I've done the Camel and the DR-1. I've done separate videos on those, and I have not done separate videos on the SPAD 13 or the Albatross D5. So once I get those done, I'll have covered the original quartet of fighter airplanes, and yeah. So each of those 4 that I just previously mentioned are available now in dual packs. You can get the SPAD versus the Albatross, and you can get the Camel versus the DR-1. If you're new to the game, I'd highly recommend picking up one of those dual packs, just because not only does it give you like all the stuff like cards and rulers and tokens, but it also gives you 2 really classy planes, and it also gives them to you in paint schemes that you can't get elsewhere. I mean, they're like dual pack only. A good example of that would be this Frank Luke Jr. SPAD 13 that I got in the dual pack. It's super cool. I love having it, especially since I've had a soft spot for Frank Luke Jr. ever since I made a short film about him a couple years back. Yeah, so anyway, it's I'd highly recommend picking up those dual packs if you are new to the game. And anyway, so let's get into breaking down the SPAD 13. Now, I can hear some of you groaning like, it has the A deck, you know, the A deck sucks. Well, I mean, there's truth to that, some truth. So it has the A maneuver deck, which we'll break down in a moment. It doesn't necessarily suck. Let's just say it's extremely specific. If you're trying to do a lot of maneuvering, well, the A deck and the SPAD 13, those aren't its main jam, so to say. If you're looking to go very fast, very, very fast, well, then the A deck will suit you just fine. However, that being said, it is a little more limited than decks of similar speeds, such as the SE5's maneuver deck. But yeah, let's get into breaking down the plane itself. First of all, just kind of looking at the aesthetics. The SPAD 13 is a compact little plane. My goodness. I mean, for something that goes that fast, in real life, I would have expected it to be a little bigger in comparison to some of these other planes. But like, set it right beside the Albatross D5A, its main opponent, and you'll just notice immediately, the SPAD is smaller, more compact, and the Albatross is gangly, it's spread out. I think the Albatross is prettier myself just because of the wing shape and the fuselage shape. I mean, I love that profile. It looks elegant, but the SPAD looks utilitarian. It's built for a purpose, and it's not going to be wasting any extra wood or fabric where it doesn't need it. So yeah, the SPAD is very compact. It's very durable. It has 16 points of damage, so right up there among the highest damage capabilities for fighters. It also has 2 A machine guns. So it fires from the A deck, means it has 2 machine guns. So that's par for the course for fighters. That's very good. And then climb rate. Climb rate for the SPAD 13 is where it really excels. The SPAD 13 climbs on a 2. Which is great news since the SPAD is an energy fighter. It's not a maneuver fighter. It's got to rely on, if you're a pilot for the SPAD, you've got to rely on thinking in 3 dimensions. You can't just camp out at one altitude and call it good, because your maneuver deck is not versatile or robust enough for that. You need to be diving, you need to be climbing, you need to be popping out from above someone, diving in and like appearing at their same altitude at the killing moment, and then diving out and away again before they can retaliate. You need to be thinking like that if you're going to be a successful SPAD pilot. Yeah, so let's look at the maneuver deck, shall we? The maneuver deck, like I said, is extremely fast. I mean, it's like Red Bull with your hair on fire fast. It's super, super fast. case I didn't say the word fast enough, did I mention it's fast? So, I mean, that literally is the SPAD's greatest strength in its maneuver deck. It can outpace a lot of its contemporaries, especially like if you start, let's say you start fighting a DR1. A DR1 is about, let me just rummage through the decks here and see if I can get a maneuver card to show you. But let me see here. So I've got the DR1's maneuver deck here, and you'll notice right away the maneuvers for the DR1 are much more compact, they take up much less space, but they're also not very fast at all. And right here, you're going almost twice the speed of the DR1. So the DR1, if he can get you into a turn fight, all well and good, he'll eat you alive. But if you use your energy and your altitude correctly, the DR1, even though it climbs on a 2 as well, won't be able to keep pace with you. The idea, like I've said before with the SPAD, is to swoop in, take a slashing attack, hit him, and get out before he can retaliate. Fighting in the SPAD is very surgical. It's not a prolonged series of shooting and shooting and shooting multiple cards in a row like you would with a turn fighter. Although, hey, if you get in that situation with the SPAD, more power to you. That's great. But it's rare. I'm gonna warn you. So think of yourself as, you know, surgically attacking your opponent one bite at a time. That's how you gotta fly in the SPAD. So the speed of the SPAD is definitely a lifesaver, literally. Anyway, then you've got your standard stalls. I mean, it's pretty much the same for every plane in the game. Then you have the Implosion turn, and again, of worth to note is that the Implosion turn for the SPAD extends backwards quite a bit, whereas with the DR1, the Implosion might be very compact, and he won't move backwards as much when he's turning around. The SPAD kind of extends out there and swoops a little bit, so bear that in mind with your Implosion turns, especially if you're flying near the edge of the table, and you're thinking, well, if you're flying near the, let's say this is the edge of the table. If you're flying near the edge of the table and an Implosion can't save you in the SPAD, chances are the turns aren't going to be able to save you either, because the turns are so super wide. So yeah, play a little more cautiously near the edge of the table if you're flying a SPAD, because your maneuvers like to spread out a little bit and they are not compact at all. And I mean, playing a stall in that situation would not help you at all. It just simply prolonged the situation. I mean, you'd fly off the table next card anyway, so you gotta be a little more inventive. So anyway, then you have the dive and the climb. Pretty much mimics the stall and the straight cards as with all the other planes. And then you have your most basic side slips. Note that they're the full forward side slips. They're not the short side slips or the longer slide slips where side slips, bleh, tongue twister. So it's not a side slip like the SE5s where you turn the card perpendicularly like that. It's just very basic. So very useful if you're trying to course correct, put a little rudder on to get that final shot or whatever. I probably wouldn't end a lot of my three card hands on this, because it's usually better to end on a straight to give you the option for that Implosion turn, because in the SPAD, the Implosion is the fastest way to turn around, just like with the Albatross D5A. And here we come to it, the turns. As you can see, yeah, that's all you got for turns, and they're extremely wide. I mean, you probably could fly around all of the Isle of Britain, you know, if you played all these turns correctly. I don't know, I mean, like, it just has a super wide circumference. Anyway, so that can be good if you're trying to evade an enemy while still course correcting and turning, you know, that will definitely help you. But heaven help you, if you're trying to outturn a DR1 to the right with this, you're in for a very rude awakening. It's not going to work at all, and the DR1 pilot will be laughing all the time while he shoots you to shreds. It's not a pretty picture if you're a SPAD pilot, trust me. However, one cool idea you can do with the with the turns is especially useful if you have a Wingman. What you can do, let me just bring out the bases here. What you can do is you can fly the Wingman in opposing circles, or you can fly them in following circles. So let's just say you have your SPAD spread out like so. Well, this Wingman, you could do a crossover reversal where this one goes here, this one goes here. So this person would plan 3 cards of this, and his Wingman would do the same except to the opposite. So you'd have this, and they'd cross each other, and then if there's anybody on their tail, they'll drag them by each other for the Wingman to shoot at. So it would look like that then. This is a fairly rough approximation. I mean, I'm not being as precise as I would if I was playing on the game table, but you see, then hopefully they would drag each other's pursuers by each other. Now, I mean, that's a bit of a long shot sometimes, but it's worth it. But the deal is, if you keep flying these circles, chances are you're going to be able to shoot at something. And now, I mean, I've had mixed success with this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it gets predictable, and sometimes you're really regretting you ever did that. So I'm thinking, you know, that's an option to pull out if you need it. Another idea is if you're flying Wingman, you can both turn in the same circles, just have one start his turn earlier. So you could have this person start his 3-card turn right away since he's the flight leader. Have this person play a stall, so he's going forward, but he's slowing up so that next card he can start his turn. And then the next card, the flight leader continues his turn, and the Wingman starts to cross his corner. And you can keep doing that, and then that allows you to cover a little more area with your gun sights, because the flight lead has this area, the Wingman has this area, so you cover this whole area right here. Again, it's useful. This certainly isn't like a get out of jail free card, and if the enemy knows what you're up to, all he has to do is latch onto this guy right here, and then this guy had better like play a straight and an Implosion to save him, otherwise he's toast. Goodbye, done. So basically, my best recommendation if you're flying the SPAD is use this card. I know it's predictable, I know it's the Implosion turn, but it gives you a climb counter each time you use it, and it allows you to turn around really fast. Basically, just fly it the same way you'd fly the Albatross D5. Like I said in the previous video about the Albatross versus the Camel, it's very much a similar situation. But just the nice thing about the SPAD is it climbs faster and it's got one more hit point. And it's faster in speed. So the SPAD is definitely the superior plane when comparing these two. Yeah, but that about sums my thoughts up with the SPAD. As you can tell, I'm kind of struggling a little bit with like concrete strategies that will work every time. The SPAD is definitely more of a skill plane. You have to get inside your opponent's head to fly it. But yeah, I mean, if you say, oh, tell me some strategies about flying the DR1, I can immediately list off some stuff because it gives you more options to work with, right? I love options. Options are great. But the SPAD is extremely simplistic, and therefore I have a bit of trouble flying it, especially if I'm coming up against a two-seater, like say the Roland, a slow two-seater, where I'm just going so fast that I immediately fly by him and then I get in front of him and he shoots me both with his 360-degree turret, if I'm above him, and his front guns. And it's just a mess. So another thing to watch out for in the SPAD 13 is any sort of two-seater, because you're either going to have to blow right past him or keep playing this stall card and saddling up behind him and letting his tail gunner rip into you just as you're ripping into your foe. I mean, when you do that, you might as well play the climb card instead, because it just allows you to gain that climb token, and you get one more of those tokens and you're up a peg of altitude, which, you know, can help. Then you can shoot down on your enemy, and if you're using the +1 firing rule, you add 1 point of damage to whatever you deal him because you're above. Yeah, but anyway, now that I've got that out of my system, I think that actually concludes my thoughts on the SPAD. But if you guys have any cool tricks to pull in this plane that I don't know about, please let me know. I mean, I'd love to love this plane better. It's a cool plane, but I mean, I definitely struggle flying this one, so I would absolutely appreciate any insight you guys have. Anyway, until I see you all again, salute and blue skies. Hey guys, if you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe by clicking on the shield in the top left corner. If you really liked what you saw and want to be a part of helping us make better content in the future, check us out on Patreon. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and blue skies.